should he start this? Okay, we're about to go. Hey there, good morning everybody. Nikki Burnett here at Taste Life Nutrition Radio on KUHSdenver.com, streaming live. And I'm so excited today for today's show. I feel like I'm reverbing a little bit. Today we have Krista Karpowicz, who is the founder of Wag Out Loud. I'm going to turn my music down a little bit now. And there we go. It's my favorite song. I love Three Little Birds. It just makes me so happy, so I have to start it, and I'm still a little clunky at turning it down, but it doesn't really matter. So today we've got Krista Karpowicz, who is the founder of Wag Out Loud and Wag Out Loud podcast. And why this is amazing, because if you've listened to me even once, I think there's probably not a show that goes by that we talk about dogs. And so a little bit of history on the show itself. The show is about health and wellness. It's about nutrition. It's about dogs and keeping our dogs healthy, keeping our families healthy. And it's about truth. We want to find the truth in healthcare. Everybody is so confused about what we do for ourselves, what we do for our dogs, what's right, what's wrong, what website is right, all of the things, is it, why is it so hard? And it is. It's always really hard. And so with this show, we're here to bring on the people who are amazing at what they do. They have found truth. Science changes. We know that. But we bring to you the best that we can, because we want to bring to you the real, solid, good, truthful information. And when it comes to feeding our dogs, when it comes to their health, to vaccinations, to heartworm prevention, all of the things that go into it, there's still tons of confusion there as well. And so Krista is here to talk to us about that, talk to us about all that she knows, all that she talks about. Her podcast is amazing. Go to her podcast, Wag Out Loud podcast. She has amazing guests on her show. So, Krista, thanks so much for being here. I'm sorry, I was a little long-winded.
Oh, good, Nikki. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be such a good show. We're going to have some serious stuff, but we're going to have some fun. And I think that it's always important to have some good fun in all of the seriousness, because right now there's a whole lot of seriousness and we want to have fun. And so with that being said, we always start the show with gratitude, because I think it's important. I think that I try to do it almost every morning. And it really sets the tone for the day. And if we can each set our tone for the day, then what does that create? It creates a lot of really good intentions for a lot of people and for our world. And so I think starting our day that way is super important. So, Krista, what are you grateful for?
Yes. Well, I should say first, I'm grateful for my dog. My dog is amazing, Winston. But for me personally, Nikki, you are what I am grateful for.
Oh, wow.
The timing is perfect. This week we just started on my health and nutrition journey that you are going to be my teacher, and I am so excited that we have started that. So I just had my first session with Nikki, and she's amazing.
Thank you.
So,
I didn't expect
grateful
that.
and excited.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. I think what I have found to be, and maybe this is my gratitude for the day, what I found to be just one of the most amazing things is, my background is animals, and then I moved away from that after grad school, and I got into the medical world and health and wellness and nutrition and, all these things, and the ability to work with humans and work with dogs and work with dogs humans is really, it's such a gift. It really is to be able to just be that support for people and for their dogs and for people's health. All of it. To bring them together it's really so special. And thank you for saying that. That's really sweet and unexpected.
Yes.
So I think I always just kind of start the show with guests, let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, how you got here, why you're here, what motivates you, what excites you, And then we'll kind of start getting into a little bit of the nitty gritty of dogs, all of the goodness of dogs.
Wow. Let's see. My previous dog, Higgins, so we're talking 15 or 16 years ago, was having seizures. And 3 different veterinarians could not tell me why he was having seizures. And at the same time, we were looking at getting another dog who was already an adult dog, and the breeder would not sell her to us unless we promised to feed raw. I had never fed raw. I was your average dog owner, feeding dry processed kibble. And I thought, oh, sure, I can do that. Just tell me what to do. And if I'm feeding the new dog a raw diet, I might as well feed Higgins a raw diet. Well, he never had another seizure.
Isn't that amazing?
So the light bulb went on. Something about nutrition is obviously key to their health. And I just continued to research raw. Fast forward to my dog now, Winston, who is 12.
Do you have him? Do you have him with you?
He's right here. You want to see him?
Yeah, let's see him.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna say hello.
Yay! He's so cute. Love it. Oh, sweet man.
So, I don't know about you, but some of the best thinking time for me is when I'm walking the dog. So I was walking Winston a few years ago, and it just came to me, I should become certified in canine nutrition. So I did that in 2018. It took me a year through the Companion Animal Science Institute in Canada. And oh my gosh, I have an appreciation for what you do with people, Nikki, because you are learning physiology, biology, chemistry. It is fascinating, but it's a lot of information.
It's a lot, yeah. Especially if you don't have much of a background in it. Because you came from a business background, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
yes.
this was a totally new world for you.
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
It was fascinating, but after I got my certification, that got me to thinking, am I going to just do one-on-one consulting on canine nutrition? No, I am going to start a podcast. And I am so not technical at all. So to learn everything that it takes to put this on, I'm pretty proud of myself that I did that. And yeah, the show is over 2 years old, and I just released my 121st episode.
Woo, that's amazing. I love that. And if I would say so, and I think you would say so, you are considered an influencer at this point, yes?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I mean, you had huge names on your show, at least in the dog world, for people who are in the dog world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so blessed to have, I learn every single day, every show. I am just blown away with the information. And the cool thing is, the information that I'm learning about dog health, I can apply to my own health as well.
Right.
Which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't believe that the show has come this far, and I encourage anybody that loves their dog and wants to learn how to help them thrive and live longer and healthier, please check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started where most people were. I wasn't feeding the appropriate diet. I was over-vaccinating.
Mm-hmm.
I was giving the flea and tick harsh chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking at what ingredients are in the grooming supplies, the shampoos and the sprays, and just our own homes are more polluted inside our homes than outside because of the Glade plug-ins that we have on our walls.
Oh, those kill me. It's just like, oh, they're so bad.
I mean,
yeah.
And that's right at dog level.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Outlet.
Yeah.
So, I'm not gonna go on a tangent, I'm gonna let you run this show.
Feel free to go on tangents, I do it all the time.
We can geek out forever.
And we will, at least for an hour, but we will do some more. So I think that it's a really great place to move into raw feeding, and what we want to do is we want to cover, I think, as much as we can on this show. We've talked about raw feeding. If you watch the show, we had Matt Rowe on of Parsley Pet, who is amazing, and
yes,
this is how I met Krista, was through Matt. So we've talked in detail and pretty in depth about raw feeding, and so we want to cover that because I think it's important for those who have not heard of it. But we want to get into some of the other stuff too. We want to get into the things that you were just talking about that I think is really important when it comes to the pesticides, in the chemicals in our yard, the chemicals in our home, and the chemicals that go into our dogs and on their bodies. And as a nutritionist, these are things that I teach people all the time. It's not just about food. Food is amazing. I mean, we all love food. Well, not everybody. I mean, food for some is not fun. But yeah, food it's amazing and it's fun as long as we have a good, healthy relationship with it. But we have to think outside of just food. We have to think about what we put on our skin, what we put in our hair, women, the makeup we put on our face, and the things that we put in our body as women, and the things that we're washing our clothes with and washing our hair with and putting in the garden and on the lawn. All of these things impact us, our endocrine system, our hepatic system, our liver detoxification. This is really, really important, and we want you to think about this for your dogs as well. And one of the things that just sort of dawned on me, yes, dogs are right there at that level of the Glade plugins, so are babies, right? So we have to think about that. The toxicity of these smelly things, all of these, besides essential oils, all the smelly things, whether it's your laundry detergent, whatever it is, perfume, these are incredibly toxic for everyone around you, which creates a toxic environment inside your home, which is why they say open your windows, let's get some fresh air in. Even if there are toxicants in the air outside, the inside it's terrible unless you are, cleaning with clean products and cleaning yourself with clean products. And I don't need to sort of belabor a point, but I think it's important to really think about what we're doing. And so jumping into raw feeding, tell me what it is that you do for Winston. How do you feed your dogs?
Well, before I go into that, I just want to let everybody know of this really scary statistic. The Veterinary Cancer Society says that cancer is the leading cause of death in half of our dogs. Mm-hmm. So half of our dogs, especially those over the age of 10, are going to die from cancer. And it's because of all these things that we're talking about that we can change, the toxic environment that they live in, that we live in, it's causing these high cancer rates.
Right.
So I think feeding a species-appropriate diet is a great place to start. Mm-hmm. Because if we look at kibble is a high-heat, processed diet. And Nikki, you know that nothing, and I mean nothing, in the pet industry is regulated.
Right.
Food, supplements, CBD, grooming products, the plastics used in toys and shoes. Nothing.
Oh, and the toys that come from China. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
all the products. Yeah.
So scary, and it is overwhelming. If anybody was to look on Dr. Google, what should I be feeding my dog? And you've got so many different opinions. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm trying to do is bring the experts together, share the information, and then it's up to you on how you're going to advocate for your dog's health.
Right.
So the reason I love raw is it has the live enzymes. It's live food, whereas kibble is dead food, and I don't even like calling it food.
It's not food.
It's feed.
Right, yeah.
Just imagine, you look at this bag of kibble with a big juicy steak on the front of it. And that's marketing. That is not true as to what is in the bag. And meat might be the first ingredient, but it's by weight as far as the order that the ingredients appear on the label. That piece of meat was weighed when it did not have any water in it. It did have water in it, I'm sorry. It was a piece of meat. The dog is not eating that piece of meat in the end, and it should not be the first ingredient once the moisture is removed. It is baked at such a high heat, there really aren't any nutrients left. And that was why they replace all the nutrients with synthetic vitamins and minerals.
Understand real quick, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No, please.
I want people to understand that if it's synthetic, the body barely, if at all, recognizes it, which means it's not utilized, which means they put high amounts of synthetics in there. It creates a real burden on the body.
Yes. And I think one of the main points I want to get across, and I'm not shaming anybody, we were all there because we didn't know any better.
Yep.
The amount of carbohydrates, these high starches and sugars in this kibble is not species appropriate. A wild dog might get 3 to 5% carbohydrates from the guts of the prey that they're eating in the wild. They are not out there eating corn and soy and grains. This is wreaking havoc on your dog's digestive system. And it's cyclical. It's just, my dog eats kibble. They get inflammation from all of these high starch foods. See, I keep calling it food, it's not food.
Yeah.
And can you guys imagine eating a bowl of Captain Crunch twice a day, every day, for the rest of your life?
Right. And that's
Do you
exactly
think you're going to get the right nutrients?
Well, you're going to get no nutrients. Even if it says it's fortified. That's the thing that kills me, in even human food and all food. It's fortified. Oh, well, great, I'm going to be healthy and live a good long life. No, that's not the way it goes. Yeah.
And people might ask, well, isn't the FDA looking out for our dog's food? Isn't the American Association of Feed Control Officials? Yes, people, that is the organization that is giving the guidelines of proper nutrition for a dog. So in my mind, it is not regulated.
Right.
So that is why I prefer to feed raw. Now, when you want to feed a raw diet, you don't want to just switch from kibble to raw. You want to introduce it slowly. And just adding things like, oh my gosh, eggs.
Right.
Eggs are the world's perfect protein. Put some scrambled eggs or lightly cooked eggs on top of that kibble. Oh my gosh, your dog is going to freak out.
I do raw eggs.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
But if people are freaked out about it, that's a whole nother show to talk about the bacteria that people think,
right.
I can't feed my dog. Your dog can eat poop and rocks and sticks and be just fine.
Dead animals that have been dead for days and days and days. Yeah, they're fine.
They have a very short digestive system and even more acidic acid in their stomach than we do. They are going to thrive on raw. You can go to the grocery store and pick up a can of sardines in water. Oh my gosh, put that on top of the kibble. Great omegas.
Yep.
So that is like baby steps. Of course, with raw, you want to feed muscle meat, organ meat, and bone.
Right.
Now, some of the listeners might be saying, but how much and where do I get it? And again, I don't want people to be overwhelmed. There are so many ways to do this. So I feed mostly commercial raw. There are some great companies out there that have done all the homework for you. And if you want to get frozen raw, you buy it in nuggets or patties from these different companies and thaw it and that's it, they eat it. Many of the companies are now using goat's milk in their formulations, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then most of them also have your fruits and veggies already in there. So it is complete and balanced, and dogs love it.
Yep.
You can go, you can go very extreme. You can do the prey model diet, which is feeding pretty much the entire animal, hair, skin, eyeballs, organ meat. And a lot of people get their meat from co-ops. So you can just look online, local raw dog food co-op near me, and you're buying in bulk, and it's a lot less expensive that way.
Yeah.
If you want to home cook for your dog and create your own recipes, that is great, but over 90% of the recipes that you just find online are not nutritionally sound. So I would encourage people to, there are websites like petdiets.com, there's balanceit.com, and it's fun actually. You just plug in what you're feeding and it'll come back and tell you what you still need to add. A lot of us think we're doing well. I feed chicken and rice.
Right, yeah.
And that's it.
Big problem.
And unfortunately, that is not enough. That is, they're not getting all of the nutrients that they need.
Right.
So I'd be happy to talk to anybody that wants to learn more. There are so many ways to do this. Now, in my mind, raw is the best. Second best would be a fresh food cooked diet. And you guys know that there's all these companies out there that will deliver right to your door, that will customize the ingredients for your specific dog's needs. I would rather have you do that than a kibble or even a canned food.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's my opinion on food.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. A couple of things that I'd like to add in when going to the cooked. Cooked is an option, but I think it's important to understand that going and cooking like bacon and then giving your dog the bacon grease and something that's high fat, that is fine for dogs, but it has to be raw. So if you're feeding a high fat meat and you cook it, the cooked fat it's hard on the pancreas. It doesn't, the dog doesn't digest it well, doesn't utilize it well. It can create pancreatitis. And so we have pancreatitis all over the place. It can be a killer, it can be acute, it can be chronic. And so, these are, if you think about the way dogs need to eat, and then, things like that, okay, they need muscle, organ meat, and bone. Fat's fine, it must be raw. If you cook it, then that's kind of bringing in the human emotion into what we think that we need to give our dogs, because they're not gonna go out in the woods and cook their food. They're gonna eat it straight from the animal that they caught. So, but I get it. I mean, you're right. You have to have your tiered approach, and maybe that's a little bit easier. But my biggest point to that is just the awareness about the high fat content. If there's a high fat content in cooked food, because it can be a big burden on the pancreas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to point out, and this goes back a little bit, but when you said species appropriate a little while ago, there are bags of kibble that say this is biologically appropriate for your dog. Marketing is amazing and terrible. It's like amazingly terrible because it's tricky. It's tricky and it's hard to figure out, and it's hard to know what's right. And like you said earlier, we've all been there. I fed kibble. My two boys, who I learned off of and I no longer have, I fed them kibble for quite some time. And then I learned what I needed to do, but it took research and understanding and time, and I didn't go through the course like I should have. I wish I had. I did a lot of reading, but it's taking the time to really understand what it is they need, and knowing that kibble, I don't care if it's $500 for a pound bag of kibble. It is carcinogenic. It has a minimum one carcinogen, if not two carcinogens in it. It also keeps your dog perpetually dehydrated, or cat, right? So your dog or cat, neither one of them need kibble. Keeps them perpetually dehydrated. That is not okay. We have to think about that, and we have to, all right.
Sorry.
We're starting the dance party. I know, I always forget to turn mine on. But wherever I was going with that doesn't matter. And again, going back to understanding that chicken and rice is not okay. Rice is not okay, period. Do not feed your dogs rice. Especially don't feed your cats rice. They are pure carnivores. But, think about even sweet potatoes. If you're feeding sweet potatoes, very, very minimal amounts. We have to watch the starches. We have more dogs becoming diabetic. I don't know if we're catching up with people. I don't know the stats, but dogs are diabetic all the time. Dogs shouldn't be diabetic. I mean,
well, it's this constant spike in insulin from this high carb diet that is not species appropriate at all. So again, it's just you are setting your dog up for failure feeding kibble, because they have this high glucose insulin spike, and then it's, as I said, you are feeding a bowl of inflammation. Mm-hmm. You either pay now and feed a better diet to your dog, or you pay later when you are going to the vet constantly for hot spots and GI issues, diabetes, obesity. And we're talking food, Nikki, but we have to think about the treats as well, because a lot of people, those puppy dog eyes just get to you, and you feel like Sparky needs a treat every 5 minutes or every time they go out. Well, I encourage people, if you are going to give a treat, treats should not account for more than 10% of the total caloric intake per day. And when feeding a treat, why not give them something nutritious? I love the freeze-dried meats. Mm-hmm. They have them in little treat form. You can even do organs, beef heart or liver or what have you. I would rather people treat that way, and your dog is going to thank you for that because they're yummy.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to think about.
There is. One of my favorite treats is beef liver. It's the freeze-dried raw beef liver, and I love it because beef liver is one of the most. I'd say, I don't know, all the organs are important, but you have to have beef liver because it has the proper amount of copper for a dog. And so you can feed chicken livers and all of these other livers, that's fine, but it's important for them to get beef liver on a regular basis so they're getting the right amount of copper in their diet. And so it's so easy to get these beef liver treats. Make sure that they're not irradiated, make sure that they're from the US or somewhere you trust, Canada, things like that, but that they're a good, healthy source. And then, you have less to worry about. That's another thing I've got to add to my food is the beef liver. Well, it's pretty simple to find anyway, but you're giving it as treats, and I think that's, and it is dry, so we want to be careful with how much we're giving because it's dry. But it is a great treat. And yeah, if you can find, you can go, you were talking about the co-ops. Chicken feet are great treats. Mm-hmm. I love giving chicken feet to the girls. Any of you can cut them up in small pieces and keep them in your refrigerator, your freezer, and give them as treats. It's really pretty simple once you start to create the habit. It's the habit and the change that's always the difficult part.
That's the difficult part, but I think the most fun part is watching your dog eat real food.
It's so true.
Oh my gosh, it's so entertaining.
It is.
Is he going to go for the chicken livers first, or is he going to go for the whole sardine? And just watching them, and it's so rewarding. And then seeing how afterwards their stools are smaller, firmer, their shiny coats are beautiful. They don't smell. Dogs are not supposed to smell.
Right.
and their breath is supposed to be fresh and sweet. I mean, the changes, you guys, just 2 weeks on a whole food, fresh food diet will change their life, literally. Inside and out.
Yeah, and you know, something that I think people don't realize is we're told, or you know, when okay, sorry, I'm not saying this well. People will come to me and say, yeah, my dog's 7, he's getting old. I'm like, no. And it's heartbreaking that we have been marketed to that this is aging, that 7 is getting
Or
old,
senior.
and 10 is getting old, and that they're slowing down, and that it's normal. This is not normal. Lifespan of a dog should be 20 to 30 years, and you know, it's not often that we get to that now, but think about, you know, you got to think about the generations of kibble that have been fed at this point. We have done nothing but a disservice to our animals by the years and years and years and the generations of changing the genetics, the epigenetics of these animals with this terrible processed food, and then of course all of the chemicals that we have. So, you know, I think that the goal is, because epigenetics can be reversed or made good, however you want to say that properly, but I feel like you and I are very much on the same team when it comes to, let's change the trajectory of where we're going with our dogs, and the continued shortened lifespan of these animals. We get them because we want them to be with us for as long as possible, and you know, dogs dying at 7 and 10. I have a friend whose dog died at 5. You know, it's heartbreaking, and it makes no sense. And we start to figure out it's the food. So much of it's the food. And it's an easy fix.
Yes.
And we can start to turn this around.
Yeah, and for ourselves as well. I mean, in a perfect world, Nikki, we feed our dogs pasture raised, pasture finished meats, organic vegetables and fruits. But that should be the same for us as well. Because if you really pull back the curtain onto the factory farming that is going on in this country, how these animals are abused from day one, and what they are fed is what we are eating. We are eating the antibiotics and the poor food. I mean, they take groceries that have expired, and we're talking yogurt in yogurt cups and bread still in the wrapper, and they're just tossing that into pet food.
Oh, it's disgusting. Plastic.
And diseased animals and other dying cats and dogs. Phenobarbital has been found in pet food.
Which is what you use to put an animal down.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's awful. And there's tons of information out there, people. If you want to look at it, it's not pretty at all. And what we are eating, you know, the meat and, you know, even the veggies. We could talk about glyphosate and the spraying of our crops. Started with Monsanto was the company back in the 70s. And this is Roundup. This is an herbicide that, believe it or not, I didn't know this before, but more glyphosate is sprayed on non-GMO foods than the GMO foods.
Right.
They're sprayed twice to bring everything, you know, like say you have a crop of corn and it's supposed to be harvested in a week, and 70% of it is already mature, but the rest is not. You spray it again with this awful chemical, glyphosate, to make it mature that much faster. That's what we're eating.
Yeah.
And our dogs are eating. And our soils are being depleted. This glyphosate lives in soil for so long. The rain runoff, it's eventually going to our streams and our oceans and our rivers, and it's just, something has to change, because we, as a species, as well as our dogs, we are getting sicker and sicker.
We are, and so much of it has to do with the chemicals that are put into our environment, and the glyphosate. And this is Roundup, glyphosate, same thing. It is a proven carcinogen. Finally, I mean, everybody knew it, but it is a proven carcinogen. And I'm amazed that I still go to, you know, Home Depot or wherever, and you still see Roundup all over the place. You still see people spraying Roundup in their yards and killing dandelions, which are food, killing parsnips, which is food, not parsnips, purslane, which is food. You know, these are weeds that are they're weeds in our yard that I just made a salad with last night. You know, I mean,
dandelions are amazing.
Yeah, they're great for the liver and great for the kidneys, and but it's you know, I have a hard time, I think, understanding why it's so important to poison the yard, these plants, as opposed to pulling them or putting vinegar on them or something like that, when really what we're doing is we're not poisoning the plant in the yard. I mean, we are, but we're poisoning ourselves. We're poisoning our kids, we're poisoning our dogs, and it's getting into the air and into the environment, you know, and it is beyond my comprehension that this is still okay and that this is still what we're doing, and that it's still okay for farmers to do this. I know it's not always the farmers, you know, there's so much involved that, you know, politically that we can't get into here, but like you said, you know, we're at a tipping point. You know, something must be done. You know, we spend so much money on research and development of these drugs to help with these chronic diseases for humans and for pets. These are lifestyle diseases.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are diseases that can be prevented and can be reversed, and we're just getting sicker and sicker, and our dogs are dying earlier and earlier, and it is it's upsetting.
It is, and to your point, Nikki, if you look at, you know, when this Roundup started being sprayed in the 70s, and you take a chart of the increase amount being sprayed in the U.S. and put any of the major diseases up there, Parkinson's, autism, heart disease, kidney disease, the trajectory is exactly the same.
So interesting, isn't it?
It's a nightmare. And our dogs not only are getting it from the food, but to your point, since we are spraying our yards and our golf courses and our parks, they are walking in glyphosate 24/7. It's getting absorbed up through their paw pads. So dogs have 32 times the human average amount of glyphosate in their bodies.
I don't even know what to say to that.
It's sad.
It's awful, awful stuff. And I want to throw out there too, interestingly, that, you know, we're talking about Matt Rowe a little while ago in Parsley Pet. He has a, just to throw it out there because I think it's amazing stuff, but he's got a functional lab that helps to look at the toxicants as well as the minerals that are in a dog's body, and helps them look at deficiencies and then the toxicants. And one of those tests, it's a new one, I believe, but they are looking at glyphosate, and I believe
Yes.
that it is shocking the amount of glyphosate that they're finding in dogs. We can look at us too. I mean, I've done testing for people and myself, you know, looking at glyphosate levels. So,
And the company is HRI Labs, and
Okay.
Matt and Parsley Pet are partnering with them. So if you would like, actually, I have a discount on my
awesome.
website because I am an affiliate. I love their products. So check out, you know, I've got food, I've got supplements that I have vetted. I will only recommend things that I know, like, and trust, and most of them do have discounts, which is great.
Yeah, and that's really good. Thank you for saying that, because go to Wag Out Loud, her website, and the tab, is it a resources tab? What is it? What does it say?
Partner products.
Partner products. Yeah, go to it. I've checked it out. I've purchased stuff myself. It's really cool, and it's nice to know that you can go somewhere and you can trust the products that are on her website. So check it out. Wag Out Loud website.
.com.
.com. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
So I think I need to take a quick break, just a quickie, and talk about Cellcore, who is our sponsor. They are amazing. at what they do. They're truly unique supplement product. Krista, I've talked to you a little bit about them. They're fairly new to the market. They're fairly new to me. But as I have learned more, which is the best thing about what I do, is continuing to learn. I love to learn, and when I find a company who is just truly innovated in their way that they approach addressing chronic conditions, or even just trying to get healthier, there's no company like this company, and I love what they do. They have the research, the science, they have the trials, the clinical trials, which is really difficult for supplement companies to do clinical trials because they're exceedingly expensive. And so they have the clinical trials, and the basis of their products are these bioactive carbons, which allows the ingredients of the supplements to actually get deeper into the into the cells, right? And so it allows the body it digs deep into worms and parasites and biotoxins and then environmental toxicants, and allows the body to truly eliminate, truly start to function properly. They're seeing, I don't want to get too deep into what they're seeing. I'm not sure how much legal stuff I can talk about on this, but the chronic disease that they are able to help to reverse is phenomenal. So, Cellcore, you can only get them through practitioners, but I do want to get the word out about them because they are on top of their game, and I just love them to pieces. So, you can find a Cellcore practitioner. You can reach out to me, of course. We can chat about it, but it's good stuff. And I mean, it's not something that you want to take just willy-nilly. This is not that kind of supplement. So it's much deeper than any that I've seen to date. So super exciting stuff. And if you have questions, always know that you can post below. You can reach out to me, tastelifenutrition.com. And then moving on, I want to talk about things like vaccines and flea and tick treatment and heartworm treatment, and these things that we're told vaccines should be at least yearly, except I know rabies has gone out a little bit. We should have teeth cleanings yearly. We should give flea, tick, and heartworm treatment monthly. Even in Colorado, where we don't have fleas, we barely have ticks, we barely have mosquitoes. And so I want to just get into that a little bit and help people understand why this is creating such a huge problem and such a huge burden on our dogs.
Well, as far as conventional vets go, 60% still vaccinate every single year.
Yeah.
So if you take a veterinary practice, 15% of most clinics' income is from vaccines. Here's the shocker. Another 65% of their income is addressing the vaccine-induced diseases that they cause.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, vaccines for a puppy all day long. Get your puppy shots. I encourage you not to get the combination shots and space them out. Mm-hmm. Over 90% of dogs that have had their puppy shots are immunized for all of those core vaccines for life. I want to make sure that everybody just heard me.
Yeah.
Even the pharmaceutical companies that create these vaccines will tell you, you don't have to vaccinate every single year. Now the beauty is, there is a test called a titer test, and that is a blood test that any veterinarian can do, but you have to ask for it. Mm-hmm. It is a little more expensive, but you are saving your dog's life. And what are you saving them from? Autoimmune disease, cancer, cataracts, allergies, asthma, arthritis, diabetes, eczema. I mean, I could go on and on. This is proven fact of over-vaccination.
Right.
So a titers test will show you that your dog does have the appropriate antibodies to fight off whatever illness you have vaccinated for. You will get a certificate, and I know here in Colorado, more and more groomers, boarding facilities, doggy daycares are taking titers in lieu of a vaccine certificate.
That is good to know, because I have asked over the years, I don't know how many people, and everybody requires vaccines. I never board my dogs. I have somebody come into the house because, for that reason. And I'll tell you that that's what I've done. My dogs have always been titer tested. As long as I've known, over the last probably 12, 14 years, however long it's been that I had gained this understanding, not one time has a test come back showing that they needed to be revaccinated. Not once. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully people understand that you do have a choice, and you need to be open and honest with your veterinarian. You can't feel intimidated. You know, they are so overtaxed. This is a doctor that is not only taking care of dogs, but other species as well. And in veterinary school, they have 1 day of nutrition, 1 day. And you know, these huge companies that are making kibble, they're the ones that are courting our vets in vet school, giving them free product. And it's no wonder that it's the Hills and Science Diet and Royal Canin that you find in their lobbies, because that's all they've been taught.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were going to say that.
I mean, I don't want to beat this to death, but I just want to encourage people, you know, have an open, honest conversation. And if you have a veterinarian that is forcing vaccines or making other suggestions, oh, you don't need a titer test, I would say look at getting another veterinarian. And the cool thing is more and more integrative vets are coming onto the scene.
Yep.
As well as holistic, of course. Don't get me wrong, conventional medicine has its place.
Absolutely.
All day long.
Absolutely.
But set your dog up for success. That's my recommendation. And yeah, don't over-vaccinate.
Yeah, don't over-vaccinate. Just, yeah, be aware. And I also wanted, I have a couple of friends who are veterinarians, both very conventional, and it's fine. But I want to be sure that I'm making a point that they got into this business because they have a heart for animals. And what is happening is the suicide rate of veterinarians is sky high. I don't remember the data, but it's heartbreaking what veterinarians go through, and it shouldn't be that way either. So this is not a show to beat anybody up. It's really to educate, to ask you to ask the questions, and also to recognize that they're there to do a job. Everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, and whether you're in medicine or, well, I think anywhere, in order to research or to look outside of what you've been taught, you have to go to that. So, you know, vets who are integrative or holistic or functional, or medical doctors who are all of those, they have to want to go outside of that to understand nutrition, because they don't get it in school. And that's okay if they don't want to, but find the people who are on your team, your human team, or your dog team, where if they don't, if you know, one doesn't do both, then find people who do both, so you can have that guidance on both sides, because you're not expected to know everything either. I know for me, and I say this all the time, that I'm a science geek through and through. I don't do numbers, I don't do accounting, I hate bookkeeping, I hate these things. I'm terrible at them, and I know this, so I find my team to help me. We have to do that in healthcare as well. And yeah, don't just be your own advocate in your own health and in your dog's health, or your cat's health, or your horse's health, whoever it is. Be your own advocate, ask the questions. And what I tell people all the time too is, when a situation arises, whether it's you know, some inflammatory condition or a disease or a cancer or an infection or whatever, always ask why. And if there's an answer, ask why. And if there's another answer, ask why. You have to dig what is the root cause for this problem. There is a root cause. Dysfunction happens because something is going on. Pain is not a problem, pain is a symptom, right? Diabetes is a symptom. Any inflammatory condition is a symptom. And so we gotta figure out the root cause. And I'll get off my soapbox.
Well done.
Thanks. Okay, so we talked about vaccines, flea and tick preventive, and heartworm preventive.
This is pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a healthy dog fed a healthy diet, they are not supposed to get parasites like ticks and fleas. Fleas and ticks will only go after unhealthy animals.
Yeah.
So let's do the flea and tick really quick. Just imagine you are putting chemicals on them that is killing fleas and ticks. Well, it's killing your pet as well.
Right.
And most of the side effects are neurological, a lot of seizures. I mean, there's studies that, tremors, seizures, vomiting, diarrhea, skin irritations, and I'm talking flea collars, I'm talking oral meds, as well as, the front line that you put right on your dog's skin between the shoulder blades. So, I mean, they have documented deaths from this. And there are natural ways to prevent fleas and ticks. One of my newest affiliate products is amazing. It's called Tickless, and it disorients fleas and ticks, and it's all frequency. So it's a tiny little thing, you plug in a USB, you put it on the collar, it lasts for 30 days, and this is the #1 non-chemical preventative for fleas and ticks in Europe right now.
Oh, that's so amazing. My Texas people and anybody in the southern United States, listen to this. This is huge.
It's phenomenal, and I tested it out for 30 days. Again, I live in Colorado as well, so I took Winston to California, and I love this product. No chemicals, no toxins. It just makes so much sense. That's on my website with a discount. There's another company, Kin and Kind, all natural, all organic, shampoos, sprays. That works as well. So there are other alternatives versus pretty much poisoning your dog.
Constantly. I mean, they require, even in the winter months, this is what gets me too. But they want you to continue doing this in the winter months where there are no fleas, there are no ticks, and there are no mosquitoes. What sense does that make? And then we just do it. Okay. Oh, and getting on heartworm, so I'm going to jump into heartworm just real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
Is if you don't do it regularly, then if your dog gets heartworm, then it's like, I can't remember, but they won't back it up, or it's like you still have to do it regularly no matter what. And I'm like, what sense does that make? Why would I do this, and why is this a requirement? Anyway, so.
Yeah, why are you worming when your dog does not have worms? And again, there are preventatives. There's natural products out there. I know Amber Naturals has one for heartworm. It's called HWF. It's all natural, that if your dog does get heartworm, you can easily eliminate that by just adding this one supplement. And I just hope that people are encouraged by what we're talking about. That we can't go with the norm. Just because it's been done this way for 50 years doesn't mean that we have to continue. We need to make the change, and we have to put our foot down and say, I want to feed my dog better. I want to care for them better. And I just hope today that we've opened some people's minds a little bit to want to learn a little bit more.
I do too. And you all know that you can reach out to us. And I want to make I want to reiterate a point that you just made also, because what is a part of a typical, general veterinary visit checkup is a deworming. So they don't necessarily test for worms, they're just deworming to deworm. I will never, ever, ever do that. Give my dog, do a poop test, let's look for worms. If there are worms, then we'll discuss what we need to do. And it's probably not going to be a chemical dewormer. But check. There's no reason to deworm if there are no worms. It's a toxin. It's killing the worms. It's going to be really, really hard on the immune system and on the dog also. It's a poison. Straight out, it's a poison. And so just be aware, and that's just like you said, I always say this, and I think sometimes I say it too much, is this be aware, like I'm going, be aware, and it's not my intent at all, because as you said, also, we've all been there. I've done it all. I've done the heartworm, I've done the flea and tick, and I've done the kibble, and it's all of these things though they're so ingrained, and we're told if you don't do this, your dog will die. If you don't do this, you're a bad dog parent. If you don't do this, this is you're a terrible person, whatever the case may be. When we need to change that, because what we're doing is doing our best to actually care for them and be their advocate. They have to do they have to eat what we give them. They have to put on their bodies what we put on their bodies, and it's our choice. It's our choice what we do for them. It's our choice what we do for us. And just having a little bit of the knowledge, or the knowledge of where to go to ask the questions, which is, again, why we're doing this, because we want to be here to answer questions or point you in the direction where you can get answers, whatever that is. So
I agree, Nikki, and the reason I love integrative medicine and holistic medicine is because they want to get to the root of the issue. As you said, everything that pops up, whether it's pain or inflammation, it's a symptom of something else going on in the body. And unfortunately, a lot of times a conventional vet will just put a Band-Aid on it and prescribe medications. And one of the worst things is antibiotics.
Yep.
Because I'm sure you've talked many times about gut health. Over 80% of the immune system is in the gut.
Right.
And a balanced microbiome is going to mean that your dog is healthy. And as soon as you're giving them antibiotics, the entire microbiome is disrupted, and you're starting all over again, trying to balance that gut flora again.
Right.
So everything has a consequence when we're talking about traditional medicine.
Yeah. And we don't always think like we would do with ourselves. Well, we give our dog an antibiotic, well, then we need to give it a probiotic. And those are things that we need to think about as well, is the importance of probiotics in animal health and in our own health, and feeding them fermented foods. I give my dog sauerkraut periodically.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
the goat milk. It's not good for, it's stinky, but one of the best things is if you have raw goat milk, let it sit on the counter and let it ferment. They love it, and they're getting good digestive enzymes and good probiotics. And I also will supplement too. So, so much to talk about.
Oh, we just scratched the surface.
I know. I think that this was really good, though. I really appreciate just getting into even if it's just surface. I mean, I think we got pretty deep on some of this stuff, and the things that we can do instead of giving the monthly heartworm preventive and flea and tick. That's a big one, in understanding that know where you are in the United States, or in the world, right? It just happened to be the United States, but I know people are watching from all over the world. Know where you are, know what is actually necessary, and then know the good alternatives. And go to wagoutloud.com, because the resources that she has are amazing. Her podcast freaking rocks, and I'm just so blessed to have you on, and thank you so much.
Oh, Nikki, I so appreciate you for having me on, and I'm so excited that you are going to transform my health and nutrition, and I'm so excited to work with you, and you are changing lives, and I so appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Is there anything that we've left out as far as what people need to know about you, where to find you, anything? What's your next podcast coming up? Podcast. I love it.
All of my podcasts come out Wednesday mornings. And my next one, oh my gosh, if you are thinking of feeding raw, this gentleman wrote the Raw Feeding Bible. His name is Dr. Connor Brady, coming out next Wednesday, and he wrote the book Feeding Dogs, and he brings you all the science, all of the studies on why feeding raw is going to be the best for your dog. So it's going to be a great episode. I encourage everybody to check out all of them because all of my guests are amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. That's exciting, and I'm going to pay attention to it.
Yay!
All right. Thanks, everybody. This was such a fun show. Krista, thank you. And, you know, you can find me. Everything's Taste Life Nutrition, the website, the social media. You can go to my website, tastelifenutrition.com, and find this is for, whoa, I keep hitting my mic. Jeez. You can, this is for humans only, but you can fill out a free assessment that I have online, on the website. It comes straight to me. I reach out to you personally. You know, I want to talk to you about, you know, what your needs are, what your goals are, and if we can help you in a small way or in a bigger way. You know, that's why I'm here. So, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will see you back here in 2 weeks. See you later.
And the tail wagging.